Now we move to the independent group agus Liam an seachta Connolly le hol.
Mí margad cean cóla agus a híisi a ríis banna ma ceisle cuasa tíhiíochta agus go hárid an géircéim tíhiíochta agus tá sé ordaí go minic agam ag an level seo ceistena don tíiseach agus inga tíspórach sa dáil. Agus a ríisiniu tá an ceistá ardó agam an géircéim tíhiíochta go náisiúnta agus go hárid in ngália. Áitiú bhfuil daoine ag fannacht ní smóna 5 bhliain 10 le teach a all. Taoiseach, I'm raising the housing emergency once again, and like other TDs on the left, I have raised it continuously any chance I get. I've participated in every possible debate on the housing to bring to your attention what is happening, and I'm going to attempt to do that in the next 2 minutes. Please don't come back and tell me, like you told the leader of Sinn Féin, about rhetoric and bluster. I'm allergic to it. But what I want to hear from you today is an acknowledgement that your support of the previous government, and going back further than that, Fianna Fáil governments, has led the housing crisis. If you've had a moment on the road to Damascus, I welcome that. And if you're now saying that we need public housing on public land as an integral part of the solution to the housing emergency, I welcome that. Simon Report, April 2021, its 18th study, 3-day snapshot. Of the properties studied, 6 of them had absolutely no properties available. Galway City had 2 within the limits of HAP, 2, and your policy predominantly is HAP and the government before you. Galway has a major housing crisis. People are waiting 15 years. A task force was set up in April 19, and notwithstanding good updates in relation to Galway, it hasn't produced a single report comprehensive to say what is the problem and what's needed. We have any amount of land in Galway up to 2023 when it will run out. And in the meantime, all of those parcels of land are being developed by developers. We have the docks maximising the value of the land there, 17 acres that they're going to sell off to the highest bidder or to indeed to the Land Development Agency. We have Kent Station with valuable land in the middle being developed by a developer. We have the Dyke Road. We have land at the airport. We have land at Nuns Island, all being developed without a master plan. Can you imagine that? Each one developing its own with a little tiny bit of social housing or a little tiny bit of affordable housing. No master plan, no recognition of the emergency. Now, I'm asking you today, there's so much I can say, but I'll stick rigidly to my time. I am telling you that there's a housing emergency in Galway. I am telling you that the market-based approach is not working, and we need a commitment, public housing on public land, as an essential ingredient in a solution. Thank you.
First of all, Deputy, I'm allergic to bluster and political rhetoric as well, and there can sometimes no shortage of it on your side of the House either. And to furthermore say, I've been committed to public housing all my life, all of my political life, and have supported the provision of public housing in whatever capacity I have served in building local authority houses. And in this government that was formed in the last 10 years, 10 months ago, there's a very strong commitment to a large social housing programme. And that funding has been provided, 3.3 billion alone provided in this year's budget for housing. The issue now is to get the houses delivered and to get them built, in addition to get affordable housing built. Agus níl an áras ach go bhfuil géarchéim u fásacáin. Níl an áras sin, ar a bhí mé sin an fá go bhfuil sin chéadáim don rialtas, a bhd níos mó tíochta chur a fáil ná má atá going inis. Agus níl a róhan á thógáil going fí láthir. Supply is a key issue here, and in terms of Galway, again, the City Council, or the Council there does have responsibilities in terms of working towards creating a master plan. The whole purpose of the Land and Development Agency is to create a facility where we can use public land for the provision of housing. Now, your view seems to be it should be 100% public housing. I don't necessarily agree that it should be 100%. I have no issue with mixed development on any housing site, but again, either state-built, state-supported affordable, which should be facilitated on public lands, Overall, we need to get more houses built than we're currently building. Last year, about 20,000 were built, the majority provided by the state. This year, the target was 25,000, 12,750 to be provided by government. There's no great private sector out there at the moment. And it seems the majority of private sector housing built last year was actually standalone single units across the country. So there's a fundamental issue of getting more houses built overall across the mix between public sector housing, public provision, and private sector provision. And I don't mean funds or anything like that. I mean in the normal, traditional way, where houses were built that were affordable for people to buy as well. Because I do believe in home ownership. Don't know whether you do or not, but I do believe in home ownership and people's right and aspiration to be able to purchase houses at affordable prices. And that's something I support. That is a huge challenge right now. And it seems to me the fundamental problem facing the country is one of supply. And to that end, government is committed to housing being the #1 priority as we emerge from COVID-19, and to apply the same type of approach that we applied to COVID to get this housing issue sorted.
The fundamental problem is that your government and previous governments have commodified housing, and you've decided it is a commodity to be sold and traded, and you have had housing policies one after another with each government backing that up to ensure that ordinary people would not be able to buy a house or indeed rent a house. In Galway, the task force has told us that the rent prices have risen 97%. Listen to that, Taoiseach. They are over 97% higher than in 2012, and we have 2 houses available, or 2 units, to use your language, 2 units within the HAP limits. Your policies and your ideology has led to a housing crisis, right over from way back in 2009 when you stopped construction. I was there in Galway when we stopped construction, and many devices were done to keep things off balance sheet, as opposed to saying housing is a fundamental human right. Public housing on public land, 100%, I make no apology for it, and within that we will have a mix. I'm now over time, so I'll stop in mid-sentence, Taoiseach, and maybe you might stop and actually reflect on what we're telling you.
Taoiseach.
Look, I belong to a party that since its foundation committed itself to provision of social housing and cleared the slums in the 30s from Dublin and Cork and other cities, and has always remained committed to the provision of social housing. That's the party I joined. It's my commitment. It's my philosophy. You have falsely presented my ideology. My ideology is not the marketplace or is not to commoditise housing. I just said we're committed to providing unprecedented funding to try and create the largest social housing programme in the history of the state. That's what our objective is as a government. In addition to that, we're providing affordable housing as well for people who aspire to buy their homes. That is something, and we would support them through the state supporting it through a variety of initiatives that the Minister has already announced. We're also providing the first national cost rental programme, which will provide housing for rent 25% below the market. These are important initiatives for people. But to make it all happen, we need more supply. We need to get more builders out there, building more homes and building more apartments. And we need capital to do that. And the state will not be able on its own to do it all. And that reality needs to sink in.
Thank you very much. Now we go finally to the